Hello there, beautiful human. Melinda Joy, Crossroads Storyteller here with a tips and tricks video. Every month on my channel, I share a collective reading and 7 tapping videos to support us all in becoming our most true selves. So if you like tarot and tapping, you will definitely want to subscribe. And today we are talking about shuffling. And so, yeah, we're just going to get right on into it. I wanted to start with the most popular way people, at least the most popular way I used to see people shuffling. And that is the riffle shuffle. So this is what I mean. So I'm going to go over the details, break it down, and then we're going to discuss a whole bunch of other ways, either to modify shuffling or just a completely other way of shuffling, so you have all of the options to meet your unique needs and the needs of whatever kind of deck you've got. So to riffle shuffle, we want to first break our deck into 2 about the same size pieces. And you're going to make sure there is some point of contact on the back and the front of your cards. I like to use my ring fingers and my thumbs. And then you can use one or both of the fingers you've got left in between to put some pressure on your cards, because the tension is really what makes a riffle shuffle beautiful, right? Or smooth or whatever. And then what you're going to do is you're going to allow your thumb to let go of a couple cards at a time. So this is what it looks like. Then if you want to, you can sort of anchor your cards so they don't fall apart. Some cards are more slippery than others. And then you're gonna put the tension the opposite direction, pull it into like a nice U shape, and there they go. Now, I did it really slow, so it wasn't quite as pretty, but I'll do it real quick just to show you. That's the pretty way. Honestly, it doesn't matter if your shuffling is attractive, though. It is important to look like you know how to shuffle your cards if you're reading for someone else, but otherwise there's no rules in shuffling. Okay, so that is the basics to riffle shuffle. One tip that I find really supportive is that when you have a deck, if you have a deck that you like to use only one direction, so this is the Lioness Oracle, and I like to use it only upright because of the backs. And so, yes, either if you are an only upright reader, or if you have a deck that is an only upright deck, when you split your deck into 2, you're going to want to make sure that they're both facing the same direction, so that when they come together, they are, sorry, that wasn't super intentional. I was just trying to show you how they come together. When they come together, they'll still be all in the same position. Whereas if it's a deck that you're reading reversals and uprights, or it has this kind of background, then I like to do it the opposite way so that I'm rearranging the direction of my cards also. So just in case you didn't understand that, when I take this second pile and I turn it this way, all of these cards, once they're shuffled in, will be a different direction than they were when I first took them apart. Okay, so I think that's the basics for riffle shuffling, and all the extra details I like to make sure to include. So on to the other most popular way of shuffling, and that is overhand. So this is what people mean when they're talking about overhand shuffling. And to do it, you're going to, it doesn't matter actually if you do it this way or this way. So the reason why I like to do this particular deck this way is because, one, my hands do fit. So if you have smaller hands, this direction might not be an option for you, but it makes the amount of space one needs to come up and down shorter, right? Because the cards are shorter this way. However, if you wanted to, you could also do it this way. You just have a little bit of a larger distance to come up initially. But it's not nearly as difficult as I just now made it look. Okay, so when you are overhand shuffling, you're going to also want to have your 2 points of contact on either side. And this time, you're going to use your other hand to receive your cards. This time, when you're shuffling, you're going to leave some of these cards off the top. And you bring your deck up and you let go of just a little bit more from the top, and a little bit more from the top, a little bit more from the top. It's okay if it's not perfect. The whole point of shuffling is to make it a new order. That's the basics. And then if you want it to look pretty, you just practice. You do it a little bit faster, and that looks pretty. And then, yes, another way to rearrange your card order that is not the same as overhand, but really reminds me of it because you're arranging your cards in a similar way, is inspired by poker dealers. And so I really like to combine this with riffle shuffling. You do it however you like. So you're going to have points of contact on 3 sides of your deck. And then you're going to use your other hand to take some off the top. And you take some more off the top. You can do smaller pieces or larger pieces, whatever feels good to you. And there you go. You've just rearranged the order of your deck. Yes, couple more options. For those of you who read reversals, if you would like, if you're happy with the order of your cards, but you want to make sure that all of the uprights and reversals have been rearranged, you can do this fun twisting technique. And you just twist however much and however long feels good. And you'll notice it gradually works its way down. And whenever you're set, just collect them all. And you've just rearranged what was upright and what was reversed. Right, okay, so one more thing I want to mention. Nope, there's 2 more things. So if you've just done a really large spread and you want to rearrange the order of your cards, but you might be here for a moment if all you're doing is riffle shuffling. Another option is to wash your cards. I don't mean with water. To wash your cards, what you do is you just sort of, I don't know how to describe this. You just push them all around. And this will for sure get you a refresh. sometimes I like to wash my deck if I've read for someone else and I want to sort of like energetically reset my deck. There's lots of other ways to energetically reset your deck though, so no stress to rely solely on this one. And then the last thing I wanted to mention was I wanted to discuss alternatives for if you have an especially large deck. Oh wait, there was one other alternative I wanted to mention, which was why I brought this deck out. So this cardstock is a little bit on the thicker side, and so I don't like to shuffle it I don't like to bend it quite so much. So I wanted to show you that you can riffle shuffle without the second bend. So this is, I have less tension here and am more so allowing the cards to fall strategically. And then instead of getting that tension again to get that beautiful bow shape, all I'm gonna do is push them together. So it's not nearly as pretty, but it works great, and I find it especially important for my decks that I don't want to affect the cardstock, or if the cardstock just isn't quite as easy to riffle shuffle. Okay, last thing. This is a pretty big deck. And so one option is to overhand. You also might be able to, oh yeah, you could totally wash the deck. But the way I like to shuffle this size deck is I like to, oops, see? I was about to do them opposite, but I like to have this deck all upright. So I'm going to make sure they're both upright. The way I like to shuffle decks this size or larger is I take them on the side. So instead of riffle shuffling long ways, I'm prepping like I'm going to riffle shuffle the short way. And I'm just going to bring them all together. And then some decks, you can bow it back. Oops, sorry, it's this way. In this deck, you can. Other decks require what I showed before. This deck must not all be upright. Or maybe I'm just focused on making a video. The other option I showed you before, just pushing it together. Now, I wanted to mention this because I've noticed that when I don't do the, yeah, this deck is not all upright. When I do this bow, because when I'm doing that action just there, my cards are being pulled like this. And then if all I do is push them together, that bow is not being altered by another bow. So I've noticed that some of these decks tend to have here, this one does have a little bit of a bow. And so when my decks end up having a little bit of a movement that I don't want them to have, what I do is I change it up. And so instead of shuffling them with their backs towards me, I will shuffle them with their fronts towards me for a while until it sort of evens out. Okay, that was all of it. All of my tips and tricks for shuffling. If you know a tip or trick around shuffling that I did not mention, I would absolutely love to know about it. Please leave a comment with whatever information is available. If there's any video content on that particular style of shuffling, I would love a link so that I can learn too. And if you enjoyed this video, you may also enjoy some of my other tips and tricks videos. But before you go check them out, be sure to like this video and subscribe. And if you would like to send me gratitude or book a tarot reading or follow me on Instagram, you can find a single link for all of those things below. So many blessings.